In this video, I'll tell you exactly what you need to do to lose fat, tone up, and transform that beautiful body of yours into its fittest version ever. And in case you're wondering if you should even listen to me, I'm a health coach with certifications in nutrition and fitness, and everything in this video is based on current research. This video is going to be structured into 5 main sections. First, I'll briefly go over how our metabolism works and what you should know about calorie math, aka calories in versus calories out. And then we'll talk about how you can adjust your diet, your exercise routine, and other lifestyle habits that science shows that actually work to make losing fat and toning up a lot easier and sustainable. I'll put timestamps down below in case you want to skip ahead. Let's start with part number 1. How does our metabolism even work? Put very simply, our metabolism is basically what your body does with the food that you put into it. And one of these food conversion processes is the derivation of energy from your food, also known as calories. The energy or calories that our body burns every day is also called our total daily energy expenditure, which basically consists of 4 parts. First, the basic metabolic rate, which is often referred to when we talk about our metabolism, to boost our metabolism. And that's the energy your body burns by just being there. If you would just lay around all day, this BMR is what your body would burn, which accounts for about 70% of the calories your body burns every day. 70%. Next chunk is the so-called NEAT, which is the non-exercise activity, which accounts for about 15%. And this non-exercise activity can be anything, any type of movement that is not conscious exercise. So for example, fidgeting or moving your hands while talking, pacing up and down your apartment, taking the stairs, all of that kind of stuff. Then there's the exercise activity, which is the calories that your body burns while exercising, which is only about 5%, which is very often overestimated. And then there's the thermic effect of food, which accounts for about 10% of your daily calories. And that's the energy your body needs to digest the food that you eat. And the sum of these 4 chunks is the calories that your body burns every day. And a very basic rule of thumb to calculate the basic metabolic rate is to take your body weight in kilos times 0.9 if you're a woman times 24 hours. If you're a man, that's just your weight in kilos times 24. But this only gives you a ballpark because the energy your body needs also depends on factors like your body composition, aka how much muscle versus how much body fat your body has. Because a pound of muscle, for example, burns about 6 calories, while a pound of fat only burns about 2 calories, which is 3 times less than muscles. So muscles burn a good amount of calories just by being in your body, passively being there. The average person needs about 2,000 calories every day. And when you eat those 2,000 calories or whatever is applicable to you, and you also burn those 2,000 calories, your weight stays the same. In general, when you eat less than your total energy expenditure, you lose weight. If you eat more, you gain weight. However, it is very important that if you want to lose fat, yes, you need to be in a caloric deficit, but it is so important to not overdo this caloric deficit, whether that's by eating less or by working out more. Impatience here does not get you far. While some people might be of a different opinion, the consensus in research says that you should not do a caloric deficit bigger than 500 calories. The absolute minimum amount of calories that every person should eat is 1,200 calories. For men, it's 1,500 calories. And this is really the absolute minimum. If you go this low, which is not advisable, you should not do that for longer than 1 or 2 weeks. Because after 1 or 2 weeks, if your body does not get at least 30 calories per kilogram of lean muscle mass, it's gonna panic and think that it's starving. That's something that you really do not want. And while that sounds very exact, calorie math is not an exact math. Because even if you track every single calorie, very likely you're not tracking correctly, because it's basically impossible to know how many calories exactly are in the food that you eat. Just as it's basically impossible to track exactly how many calories you burn, no matter how good your activity tracker is. Because even things like mental stress, how much sleep you got, how exactly you prepared your food, all of these factors influence your calorie math. Still, obviously, it can be very helpful to track. For some people, however, tracking their calories is not the smartest idea because it can mess up their relationship to food, and or it's just not sustainable because it can be really annoying to track everything that you eat and every activity that you do. So for other people, intuitive eating is the best choice. Whether tracking or intuitive eating is the right choice for you is a whole nother topic, and I will soon make a video about that. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. You might have heard about that 3,500 calories cuts per week thing, which equals about a caloric deficit of 500 calories every day. And when you do this, when you eat 3,500 calories less every week, you lose about a pound of body weight every week, according to that formula. But it's not that simple. Because first, your body is a very smart machine and it will adjust to your caloric deficit. When you don't eat as much as your body needs for more than a couple of weeks, your body's thinking, I'm missing something here. I'm not getting the energy that I need. So I'm going to slow down my metabolism so that the reduced foods that I'm getting is still going to be enough to sustain all the functions that I'm doing. Plus, eating too little is also very likely going to mess up your relationship to food by feeling too restrictive, and that's pretty likely to lead to overeating or binging, or in general, an unhealthy relationship to food. If you only eat less without working out and without making some more adjustments to your diet, you're not only going to lose fat, but you're also going to lose muscles. And that's something you do not want, because if you lose muscles, first, that's not healthy, and second, your metabolism is going to slow down. In general, in order to lose body fat, you need to be in a caloric deficit. But to gain muscle, you need to be in a caloric surplus. However, it is also possible to do both at the same time, which is called body recomposition, meaning you recompose, you change the composition of your body. And you can do this by going only into a slight caloric deficit, no more than 500, rather 200 to 300 calories a day. You increase your protein intake, and you do resistance training. And in order to not only lose fat, but also build muscles, next to the calorie math, you should also focus on your protein math, which is a lot simpler. Research says that you should aim for 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, which, for example, for a 130-pound person or 58-kilogram person is about 90 to 120 grams of protein. And it's best if you distribute this protein intake across meals. So try to aim for at least 30 grams of protein per meal. And here are some examples of how 30 grams of protein look like. And in case you're thinking, I don't need protein because I just want to get skinny, think again, because first, your body needs protein to build muscle, and especially if you're in a caloric deficit, not to lose muscles. If you only lose weight, aka fat and muscles, your body will look slouchy and not very toned. But not only that, also the macronutrients that you eat have an impact on the calories that you burn. Remember earlier in the formula of your total daily energy expenditure, there was that one part that made up 10% of the calories you burn every day is the thermic effect of food. And the TEF of protein is about 20 to 30%, while the TEF of carbs is only 5 to 10%, and that of fat is only 2 to 4%. Which means, for example, if you eat 500 calories in protein versus 500 calories in carbs, those calories are effectively worth 350 calories for protein and 450 calories for carbs, respectively. Meaning you can basically eat more when you eat protein than when you eat carbs or fat. But just because the TEF of fat is pretty low and the calorie content of fats is pretty high, does not mean that you should cut out fats, because your body needs healthy fats for many bodily functions, including hormone health, and you do not want to neglect your hormone health. And also including fat with every meal is important in order to feel satiated. Again, because without fat, your satiation hormone won't work properly. A good aim is to eat about 0.5 to 1 gram of fat per kilo of body weight. And once you have your minimum amount of protein and your minimum amount of healthy fats in your diet, you can fill up the rest of your available calories with carbs. And here you should focus on complex carbs, meaning veggies, fruits, the not so sweet fruits, grains, and starches like sweet potato. And yes, carbs are the least important macronutrient of the three, but still, you do need carbs, especially if you work out. By choosing complex carbs over simple ones, so brown rice, sweet potatoes, or buckwheat over white pasta or stuffed white bread or donuts, you're full for longer, and it's easier to listen to your body's hunger signals, because those hunger signals are honest, they're real. If you mostly eat sugar or simple carbs, your body will keep sending you hunger signals even though you've already reached your calorie limit. And I do want to mention here that fruits do count as carbs, especially sugary fruits. Fruits are healthy, yes, but the sugary fruits like bananas or mangoes do have a lot of sugar in them. Before you get me wrong, I'm not saying stop eating fruits, I'm just saying keep in mind that they're carbs. Next to macronutrients, there are micronutrients, especially fiber. And while vitamins and other micronutrients are not directly relevant for weight loss or body composition, they are indeed indirectly relevant because they directly influence your gut health. And your gut health has been shown by science to directly influence how well we lose fat and gain muscle. And also it impacts our overall mental and physical health. But especially fiber is something you should most likely increase in order to stay full for longer and hence make it easier for you to not overeat in terms of calories. And also again, fiber is very important for gut health. Then you should really look at your water consumption because it is very likely that you're not drinking enough water. Hydration is so important always, but especially when you want to lose fat and gain muscle. First, because very often when you think that you're hungry, you're actually just thirsty. So next time before you snack, chunk down a glass of water. Second, water or fluids in general fill up your stomach. So again, you eat less. Third, drinking enough water significantly can boost your metabolism by up to 30%. 30%. Plus, again, hydration is super important for your overall health. And here's a little example of how your meal plan could look like. Obviously, adapt that to your own preferences and your body's needs. Good guideline is to focus your meal planning around your protein, then add some healthy fats to it, which is pretty easy because it can just be olive oil, or some nuts or nut butter, or also fatty fish, for example, and then fill the rest of your calories with carbs of your choice, preferably complex carbs. So diet is the most important part when it comes to any type of body or health transformation. Science shows that your physique and your health is influenced by up to 70% of what you eat. So for starters, try to focus on your diet first. Then let's talk about exercise, which is obviously also very important when you want to transform your body. So the best thing that you can do to help yourself to exercise regularly is to find a routine that works for you. And even if that routine only includes 10 minutes of workouts a day, give yourself at least 2 weeks to get used to your new routine. And if you feel overwhelmed, start a bit smaller. You should aim for resistance training about 3 to 5 times a week, and maybe include some cardio 1 or 2 times a week. Cardio is not necessary for weight loss or muscle gain. It's just good for your overall health and especially your mental health. Here's a little example routine. Just feel free to take this and adapt it to your needs and your daily life. Resistance training should be your main focus, not because it burns a lot of calories, because it doesn't, but because it builds your muscles. And when you have muscles, as mentioned before, your metabolism automatically burns more calories. Plus, you just look more toned when you have muscles. Otherwise, you're just gonna look skinny fat. Before you say, I don't want to do weight training because I don't want to look bulky. Women will not look bulky just because they weight train. People get bulky when they weight train and eat a lot of calories. When you're in a caloric deficit, you physically cannot bulk up. You can only tone down and get strong and lean, which is what we want. With cardio, you do burn more calories than with weight training, but when you burn more calories while doing HIIT workouts, for example, after that, you will also be hungrier and eat more. So all that work during that hard cardio workout will be for nothing. So cardio is good for your health, but it's not necessary for fat loss. What you want to do instead for burning calories is increase your NEAT. Remember that chunk of the calorie formula? And the easiest way to increase your NEAT is by walking everywhere, whether it's walking to an appointment or walking around your neighborhood in your lunch break or when calling a friend. There's a reason why they call it the hot girl walks. But not only walking, also things like walking around in your apartment when you're on the phone or taking the stairs instead of the elevator. All of these things increase your NEAT, which again accounts for up to 15% of your daily energy expenditure, which, if your body needs 2,000 calories, is 300 calories, which is, remember, all the deficit you need for body composition, aka for losing fat and building muscle. However, even if you eat well and work out regularly, it'll only get you this far if you don't do this next thing right, which is to take care of your sleep. This study shows that when people cut back on sleep for only 2 weeks, while keeping everything else the same, the amount of fat they lost decreased by over 50%. 50. And that's because when you're sleep deprived, your body is under so much stress that the things that you need to be conserving more energy, so it hangs onto your fat a lot more than if you would have gotten enough good sleep. Plus, when you're tired, you tend to want to eat a lot more and a lot unhealthier, because that stress will make you want to eat more in general, and especially more high caloric food, which is also why another thing that is crucial when losing fat and building muscle is to stress less. And I know this is easier said than done, but increased levels of stress, especially over a longer amount of time, will harm your progress, because your body will not want to let go of that extra fat because it thinks that it needs to hold on to that energy storage. And also, again, it'll make you eat more and more unhealthy stuff. If you struggle with being stressed out a lot, have a look at my video here where I share tips on how to stress out less and to lower your cortisol levels. If you want to make it even easier for yourself to get lean and healthy, have a look at this video right here where I share 31 health cheat codes that have really been a game changer for me. Other than that, I wish you all the best on your health journey. Let me know in the comments if there's a specific part that you struggle with and that you would want to see a video about. Other than that, thank you so much for watching and take care.